Steam locomotives were some of the most powerful machines ever built. They pulled trains that fueled our imagination. They represented vision, collaboration, ingenuity, customer service, and extraordinary human achievement. But in order to get to their destination, it took someone guiding them through a series of switches in order to get to the main line. Just like leaders today, it takes someone directing them down the right path in order to get to their destination. Welcome to Mainline Executive Coaching ACT, which stands for and Cultural Transformation, hosted by Master Certified Intelligent Leadership Executive Coaches Maikel Bailey and Rich Barron, with over 50 years of successful cultural transformation and quantum leadership development between them. Brought to you by Intelligent Leadership Executive Coaching, the world's foremost authority on cultural transformation and intelligent leadership development. Once again, thanks for joining us and enjoy today's show.
All right, welcome, folks. Thank you for joining us today. We are here. We have got a great show for you tonight. You're going to love this show. I'm telling you right now, you're going to love it. This is Maikel Bailey. I'm here with my partner, Rich Barron. We are Mainline Executive Coaching ACT. ACT. You've got to act. If you want to be a leader, you've got to learn how to act. You've got to be able to act in ways that make a difference for yourself, for the people that you're leading, that you deliver on that so that they, in turn, can use their talents and abilities and they can deliver. ACT also stands for and Cultural Transformation. So we have a very exciting guest with us tonight. This is a gentleman I met not too long ago and just talking to him for a few. I'm going to tell you very honestly, Presley, you're kind of like this tribal chieftain combined with a cosmic guru. That's the only way I can describe it.
Thank you very much.
It's like a big life. I mean, let me just, he is a big guy when it comes to natural bodybuilding. He was involved in that for a number of about 8 years. He took first division 4 times. He won Mr. Utah 2009. In the fifth, he's the fifth in the nation in 2010. He's a marvelous, born in the States but grew up in Nigeria. This man has had an extremely exciting and incredible journey. And what he does now is very exciting as he works with people, not only in their bodies to get in great shape. I mean, if you met him, it'd feel like, if I went with Presley into like Detroit or Chicago and some of the rough neighborhoods, I would be safe. I wouldn't have to worry.
That's social security right off the back.
Yeah, right there, I'm good. Let it come. So, Presley, give us me in 60 seconds about who you are, what it is that you do.
I'm Presley Okobia. I'm a strength coach, CEO of Champion Athletics. And my main job in what I do is just to get people from point A to point Z, guiding them little by little, taking smart steps to make sure that at the end of the day, we achieve their goal, progress, even if it's little by little.
Yeah, that's smart. That's very, very smart. I'm going to tell you, Rich, as you watch and listen to Presley tonight, he tends to be kind of a quiet guy. And then all of a sudden he starts dropping these like bombs of truth on you that you just didn't see coming and you never suspected were there. But he is that guy. He watches, he listens, he pays attention, and all of a sudden he starts delivering on it. One of the things that I found very interesting about you, Presley, that I wanted to bring on, particularly this aspect about leadership.
Yeah.
And working with young people. You're going to be relating to this, Rich. Your son is, we're going to have you talk about what happened with your son just recently. Exciting stuff. And leadership with the youth. Talk to us about the things that you've done with youth that's kind of out of shape, kind of lost, and they don't know quite what to do, and what it is that you're able to do with them over a period of time. This little step stuff that you're talking about.
Okay. I think very importantly is, first of all, I try and understand the person in the mirror. The person that I'm talking to, I want to kind of get into their mind and see exactly what do they need. So we go over foods, their diet. We go over the sleep. We go over what exactly are they trying to accomplish. And my job is to make sure that I come up with proven principles that are going to work to get them to where they want to get to. So, for example, the youth today have very little knowledge about the food that they put into their mouth. And, you know, what that can really do for you as far as, you know, thinking better, acting better, getting better sleep, gaining the weight. Along with that comes with confidence. At that age, the youth today, I feel like the pressure is extremely high on them to be 100% all the time, because now we have the Instagram, we have the Facebook, and they need something to make them feel like we can do this. And so with what I do with them is I talk to them and kind of see where their needs are. And I just go off of that little by little. But I love working with kids. Right now, I'm working with a couple. There's soccer, basketball, but more importantly, general population. You don't have to be an athlete to want to feel confident. You can just want to feel confident because of who you are, period.
One of the things you told me about that I really thought was really, really interesting was when you first came over here. You're born in New Jersey, then you grew up in Nigeria.
Correct.
And then you came back.
Correct.
And you came back and you had like what, $75 in your pocket or something, maybe $25. It really wasn't a whole lot. No. And then you went to your mom and said, you know, can you help me out here? Pick the story up there and tell them about, you know, riding your bike to work and even in the snowstorm. I want to hear.
You remember that? I didn't think you would.
I listened.
I'm the fourth son out of 5. And my family is really big on hard work. You know, if you want to make it, you have to put the time and the effort in. And I came to the States with $125 in my pocket, 3 pairs of shorts, 2 shirts, and that was it. Nothing else. And yeah, I had my brothers here that if I really need the help, they would have been there for me. But it was almost like, hey, listen, we know you can do it. We're your backbone if you need to, but go get this done on your own. And I remember I worked at a restaurant down there in Orem, and it was snowing. And the only way to get there was my bike. And I thought to myself, listen, I'm going to make some money. So guess what? I got on my bike and I rode in that snow all the way down there. And quite frankly, I had fun. You know, I think today it might be a little bit different, but at the time I thought, I love this. And, you know, working that hard and putting in that much effort, I was 17 and a half. You know, I think has really been helpful for me to realize that if you want something in life, your focus has to be more than what the average Joe is willing to put in. You have to be able to give more. You have to want more. You have to realize your desire is worth the sacrifice. And that's what it was.
Yeah, that's that authenticity. We talk about authenticity a lot in leadership, Rich. Talk about transparency. We talk, get past the pose, get past the name on the door kind of stuff. Don't get caught up the poser stuff that you're entitled and all stuff. This is exactly what I'm talking about with Presley here. Him talking and working with kids now. He's got that authenticity to say, I have been there and I have done it. I can help you believe in yourself and help you get there too. Yeah. That's what that is. That's that grit we talk about. You got to have that grit in order to really make it happen and really make it work. And when you have that, then you can then take it to your teams. You can then take it to your organizations, because this is something that you have done. This is something that you live. It's a character trait that you really bring to it.
Yeah.
Rich, we're going to question for Presley.
I'll tell you what, we had a long talk right before, I shouldn't say long, but we had a talk right before we got on the podcast. And we're able to talk about some life experiences and, what it takes to come out the other end from those. And really, if you look at leadership, if you look at what's going on in today's world, man, there's all sorts of issues, and not just for leaders, but, the supply chain issues and everything we hear going on around us, and, the stress levels for leaders and even at your home life is really changed the landscape. And you talk about grit, Maikel. There's you know, it really takes quite a bit to dig down deep and dive in. But I want to talk a little bit about that as well.
Okay.
And being resilient is absolutely imperative to push through on some of these issues. But on the other hand, you need to know when you need to ask for help. You don't go it alone on some of these stress issues, these mental issues, the struggles at work. Resiliency can turn into a killer. If you just block everything out and you're going down, you know, the road and everything's off to the side, you know, if you don't have a plan to improve the situation, if you don't have a clear end, you know, to the challenges you're facing, or if you're just trying to stay in there, you know, stay afloat, you're going to lose sight of the goal. And you're going to lose sight of, in a lot of ways, of what's really, truly important on the outside of what you're doing.
Correct.
It's a, you know, resiliency and grit is absolutely an imperative thing, but you got to know when you got to ask for help, to step away, to back off, to, you know, to take a different look at things. And Presley was some things we were talking about prior. Presley is really comes down to that. When do you know, Presley? When do you know you really got to back off and take a different look?
First of all, I would like to touch base. Where I come from in Nigeria, I'm from the Igbo tribe, and we have a lot of like parables and idioms. And, you know, my mother always has these funny things. My dad has these funny things he would say. And in relation to this, the first thing that came to my mind is she would say, Emeka, one tree cannot make a forest. So we cannot do this by ourselves. That's number one.
Yeah.
Number two, the beauty of the, you know, one of the things I've really enjoyed doing what I do is I've met some really interesting people that are way smarter than me, way more, you know, life experiences. And from a young age, I've always asked them, give me advice. And the one thing that I heard somebody tell me once that I've really held close and dear is, recognize what you're good at, recognize what you're not good at, and find the people that are good at the things that you're not good at, and learn from them or bring them on board. Now, they can only make your life and your situation better. That's kind of how I see it. So for me, I just believe in give your best, know where your strengths are. For me, and then where you're not good at, okay, I'll tell you, I'm not the greatest guy at paperwork. So that stuff really drives me bonkers. And so I have somebody who handles that for me now, and they do such a miraculous job that it allows me to do my job more efficiently. And so that's how I advise people to just recognize where you're good at and ask for help when you do need it.
Yeah. You know, Presley, you said something there that is absolutely true. Surround yourself with people who are better, smarter than you are on certain areas. You can't do it all by yourself. That's why, you know, true good leaders, they aren't afraid to bring these people into their circle that are better than they are. They're smarter than they are. They have more, you know, knowledge in certain areas. And that's where you become successful, is you're able to get this whole group together that you can tap everybody's strengths and knowledge. And from there, you all grow. That's the one thing I think that is missing in a lot of, you know, people today. They're afraid to bring these people into their inner circle that can, you know, they're better than they are on certain things. And there's nothing wrong with that, man. That's an awesome, you know, ability to do that. Yeah.
I think it's definitely something that requires one to be humble. It requires, as Maikel will say, transparency. And I think it's something that is extremely important. And just the camaraderie of having that many people that know what they're doing, that energy is going to bounce. It's going to bounce off of each other, and it's only going to bring us up, which means, guess what? We can accomplish more.
Yeah.
Is it not the goal at everything we do? You want to be better? So that's my approach.
Yeah, team building is huge, and you're right. It's this sense of being humble and confident within what it is that you can do and you can do well, and being able to make that invitation to bring in those other people to create that kind of synergy. That's a wonderful thing when that happens in a team. It is absolutely wonderful. We're getting what I want to talk about as we get close to finishing up here. You work with youth. You also work with older people.
Correct.
And sometimes there can be this great chasm between the two, and the youth of today is kind of a little bit different than they were when I was growing up or when you were growing up. They're kind of, the electronic world and the games and all stuff. So I'd like to hear, number one, your observations. And what is it you notice about the youth and that you'd want to tell them? If you could tell the youth, I know it's a generalization, but if you say to the youth, here's the thing that you want to focus on. And then as the people that you work with, the older people, what is it you notice about them? In each cases, they lack something. They're looking for something. They want something. They want some way to get to where they want to go that they don't know how to get to on their own. What is it as you, as a leader, as a trainer, as a coach, what is it you say to the youth? And then what do you say to the older people to inspire them?
I would say to the youth, I try and push hard work. I try and push, you're not going to be rewarded for everything. Do it because it needs to be done. I try and push discipline. I try and push letting them know that what their parents are sacrificing time-wise, financially, to make them better is a blessing. And the best way that they can reward their parents back is by being the best they can be for themselves. Because any parent is not doing this for them. They're doing it because they want to see their kids better. And so I tell the kids, validate their efforts. It's extremely important to validate the effort. And then at the end of the day with them, I try and bring it back to, I just kind of feel like the youth today have lost almost like what it takes, the grit, to climb to the mountaintop. We all want to make it to the mountaintop, but nobody wants to climb, and I just tell them, enjoy the journey. The beauty is in the journey, not actually at the mountaintop. The mountaintop is great, but everything you learn, the scars on your legs, the marks you put on your body, the falls, the stand, the hungry, the full, the thirsty, the tired, that's what makes you a man. That's what makes you a woman. That's what makes you important. That's what differentiates you between the good and the bad, between being awesome and being all right. And as far as the older crew, to be very honest with you, I step into the room with a sense of admiration. Number one, I walk into the room and I pay my respects. And I let them know that I'm here 100% for them. Because oftentimes what I've noticed is a lot of the elderly crew that I work with they put in their dues. And now they're trying to compare themselves to 25 and their 30-year-old self and their kids. And let's be frank, it's just not possible. So I like to set up realistic goals and say, you know what? When you were 25, maybe benching 300 or 220 was, something you want to do. We're not going to do that here, even if you tell me you can. You know what I mean? This is what the average is doing. This is what we're going to do. This is your personal best. Let's make it better. Let's make this time the best time. It's like I love to cook. I love to cook. And again, my mom would say, the joy in cooking is watching people lick their plate, watching people sit back and eat. So if you've gone all your life and you've put in that much work and you're here today, you've probably gone through some issues, health issues. You've probably been at the top of the job and fallen down and somehow made it back up top. Or guess what? You're on your way back up. You've probably dealt with real problems, kid issues, financial issues, company issues, things that the youth today have no idea of. I mean, they're worried about how many likes they get on Facebook and all that kind of stuff, you know? So I try and bring them back and say, listen, let's get back to the gravy. Let's get back to what really makes you happy. And let's focus on that.
Yeah. That's great stuff. That is great stuff. Thank you. Thank you so very much. I told you all of a sudden this guy would be dropping these bombs of wisdom and you never saw it coming.
Yeah, I'm laughing because he said something about trying to be our old selves, 20-year-old selves. There was a time my son got a skateboard, and this was some years ago, and I thought, man, I'm going to show him I can ride this thing. And it was about 10 seconds, and down I went, and I broke my elbow.
Oh, no.
It was bad. I ran right out of my elbow and broke it. And, so lesson learned, but they still tease me about that. But it's, it just, it's not the age, it's the miles, pretty much is what they say. And you just don't heal as quick when you get older. Just a word of advice.
Yeah.
All right.
I'll agree with you.
There's going to be folks that want to talk to you, Presley. How do we get a hold of you?
You can reach me at my phone number, 801-661-2229. I also have my business Instagram handle, which is Athletics Champion. And you can also reach me at Okobia at gmail1978.com, and that'll be me. All
right. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it. We'll have you back again. We've got some really interesting conversations. Even though this is about, the physical fitness, there's also about the mind. But what I want you to see out of all that, what I want you folks who are watching here tonight, I'd like you to see this vision of leadership, that ability to see what is, and then to see what is possible, and then take your people through it step by step to help bring out in them the belief and the actions of becoming their best and delivering their best. This man understands it very, very well.
Well, and I can see, Presley, you obviously love what you do and love the people who you're doing it for, and that's a sign of a true coach, a true leader, and someone that really wants to serve his fellow man.
Thank you. I do enjoy it. It's a blessing.
All right, Rich, take us home.
Well, once again, folks, we are at the end of another excellent Mainline Executive Coaching ACT, and thank you so much, Presley, for joining us tonight. One quick shout out tonight. I'll tell you what, we've got some listeners in London, England, that are literally on every single show we do. They're downloading everything we do. We got to say thank you so much. Thanks for your support. We're trying to shout out to everybody out there who's paying attention, supporting us, and again, reach out and talk to us.
Give Presley a call.
What's that?
Give Presley a call too.
Give Presley a call first, then call us, because he'll send you our way.
Wisdom going here, then come and talk to us.
That's right. So,
thank you, guys.
Leaders at ILEC.com and book some time with us. Let's talk. And have a good night. We wish you all the best. Stay safe and take care.
All right, folks. Thanks so much.
Good night.
What the heck is that? Looks like something from outer space.
We are live. And
a little spaceship over here. Thank you. Welcome. This is Mainline Executive Coaching ACT. I'm here with my partner, Rich Barron, and I'm Maikel Bailey. And we're over here. We don't know what we're doing, just kind of screwing around. But that's sometimes what you do. You get in life and you're not always sure that everything's exactly planned the way you want it to be, right?
Yeah,
actually, it's perfect with what it is that we're doing tonight. We're talking about entrepreneurs and people that are entrepreneurs and the kind of leadership that they have got to bring to the table when they're starting and running their own businesses. So what do you think about that, Rich? What's your take on that whole thing about entrepreneurs and being their own leader?
You know, I think a lot of times we talk about leadership and executive coaching and stuff like that with larger companies.
Yeah.
You know, but in reality, you know, if you're starting your own business, you know, you're essentially you're the manager, you're the janitor, you're the employee, and all the above. And sometimes we don't take into account how important leadership is with, developing a business. And it's every bit as important as for small business owners, entrepreneurs, as it is for those in large corporations. You know, as you build this leadership, as your company grows, which inevitably that's your plan, correct? You want to grow your business, you want to scale it up, and you're going to bring on more people down the road, more employees. It's important to have those leadership skills in place, when you're ready to pull the trigger on getting bigger.
Yeah, it's very true. One of the things they talk about, as I've dealt with a lot of entrepreneurs over the years, is this idea of passion. And that's a real interesting idea. What does passion really mean when you take a look at performance as a business leader? One of those things that it means that they've got a real strong sense of vision about where they want to go. They see this is what they want to do. And why is that important in terms of a leadership? Because it's easy to stay where you are. I was talking to some people that I do some coaching with, and I'm telling you, they are in leadership positions. I am telling you that gravity pull to stay in the comfort zone is so freaking strong at times, to get yourself launching off a launch pad to get out of there. It is such a difficult thing, because even when you're miserable, even when you're happy, even when you can play what I call the game of awful. Oh, it's so awful. It's so terrible. It's so awful. Sometimes that comfort zone is still so compelling, so got you captured so badly, it's easier to stay there than to actually get up and do something about it. That's what I think. Entrepreneurs are amazing people. There's really two kinds of entrepreneurs, in a way you might settle it this way. Those who grew up in families that were entrepreneurs. They just have it in their blood. They just see it. They smell it. They're all around it. That they just naturally go into business for themselves. And those people that want to get out of that rat race, get out of the, what they call the golden handcuffs, the golden shackles, as it were.
Right.
Create their own destiny, move out in a whole new direction. And what it really does that is a couple things. One is the vision. The second, something that you understand really well, is the drive to get it done. I got a vision and I got that drive to get it done. And then the ability to, some way or another, figure out what a need is in the marketplace that matches up with their own talents and their own passion, and kick it in gear and go after it. That is not an easy combination for people to manage. And we know that because most people aren't in business for themselves. So I've got huge admiration for those folks.
Oh, absolutely. I would challenge anybody listening to find a great company that doesn't have great managers.
Yeah.
They really do. They know how to manage the process. They know how to get a vision. They know how to manage schedules and budgets and oversee productivity and even resolve conflict, right? But here's the difference. Even in a small business, you can be a phenomenal manager. You really can. You can put it all together. You can find marketing, and the product offering is spot on. You got this great marketing happening. But really, when it comes down to intelligent leadership, it's a different mindset altogether. Now, granted, when we go in and talk to people about these issues, we're not going in to tell them how to do their job. We talked about this before. We assume that that's already, taken place. They know how to do their job. They know how to manage the facility. They know how to manage the processes. What intelligent leadership is understanding how to manage not only yourself and your thoughts and your feelings and emotions, but how they revolve around that outer circle that everybody sees, the communication skills, the talent leadership skills. And with an entrepreneur and small business, those things are still incredibly important. Even if you're talking to customers, even if you're working with customers, there still has to be an aspect of leadership that they sense and they know that you can get it done for them. That's not simply being a manager, that's being a leader. So that crosses that line. There has to be more than just the ability to manage a process, or more than just ability to have a vision, or more than just the ability to drive home the results.
Yeah, really, there's an interesting aspect for most of these men and women that go into business and have not been born into an entrepreneur family.
Yeah,
there is a lot of stumbling. There's a lot of figuring out. There is a whole lot of just scrambling to figure it out and to make it work. And again, they've got to be able to cover a lot of bases in a fairly short period of time as they start their own business and get it up and working and going, and then get it so that it's sustained. And certainly we can help those people, because we can do the surveys, that says, okay, here's where you're great, here's where you're not so great, here's where you kind of trip yourself up. Let's work on these areas to make those strengths stronger, take care of the gaps, and then get yourself out of your own way. We can help them in ways that probably, I'll tell you the truth, if they will come in and do the work, we could probably save them 10 to 15 years of struggling, because it's one of those things, they don't know what they don't know. And we can target specifically, here it is what you don't know. Because when we take these, we have these folks take the assessments, you see 4 interesting things. And one thing is you see the strengths that you know that you have. Then you see strengths that you didn't know you had. Oh, I didn't know I had that strength. Yeah, look at that. How about that's pretty good. Then there's the things that you're not so good at, that you're aware of. Yeah, I'm right at that. Then there's those other ones that I didn't even know I was good at that. I had no idea why I kept messing that up.
Yeah. Couldn't figure out why that wasn't working.
Yeah, we couldn't figure out why that was working. Why I kept blowing it from my face over and over again. I thought it was something else. Yeah. And so there's a lot of things that we can do to help those good folks out there who wanting to start their own business and get it up and going. I mean, in a lot of ways, they really are the backbone of our country and other countries, because they employ so many people. And there's just something incredible about that entrepreneurial spirit. It's such a breath of fresh air, fresh, freedom, a sense of, taking control of your life, really making something up on your own the whole thing about pulling yourself up by the bootstraps.
Yeah.
It's all that kind of great stuff. So that's what we want to say. If you're an entrepreneur, you want to become an entrepreneur, hey, we can really help you. We can make a difference in the development of not only your business, but in the development of you as a leader of your business, and then helping you in turn develop not only what it is you've got to develop in terms of skills, but also when you bring people in now working for you, you have a much better idea of how to, you're talking about, manage them, lead them to the benefit of the business and the growth of it.
Yeah, I agree. The past 2 years have really changed the face of business worldwide. How many businesses we've seen go under, and not because they were doing a poor job. It's just the circumstances of the last couple years and the struggles. And we do this also. We work with these people that are looking for job opportunities and how to get back into the workforce. And I'll tell you, it takes a lot of courage to get in there and start your own business right now. It truly does. It's one of those things that, you may think, oh gosh, am I going to invest all my money in something that may or may not work? But, you got to hand it to these people that are out there doing this. And we know from surveys, we know from talking to people, we know that the companies that are going to be successful coming out of this pandemic and what we call the new way of business going forward are the ones who are going to support and focus on leadership development, cultural development for their individuals. Now, you may not as an entrepreneur who, I'm the only employee in the company. Well, what's your culture like? There's culture there. There really is. Is it something that, I'm going to get up at, 10 o'clock, I'll do my own thing and, whatever. Sometimes that doesn't work. What's the saying you came up with? You didn't come up with, but it's, it's great going into business for yourself. You can choose any 18 hours of the day to work, whatever your schedule is, those 18 hours of the day.
Yeah.
And it does. It takes a lot of time. But, culture isn't just about a company with a bunch of people. It's organizational culture. It's company culture.
Yes.
If you start to develop that around who you are as a leader and who you want your company to be, as you start to grow, that culture is going to grow amongst the people you bring in. So there's a lot of benefits to being prepared as a leader and cultural development prior to becoming successful.
And a lot of that is what you're talking about, I think, as well here, Rich, is knowing yourself.
Right.
You really do have to know yourself pretty well. And to know what's great about you, again, and what's not so great, and what it is that you're going to work on, because it's in that self-knowledge. I've talked to a lot of leaders who have been very successful, and it is interesting how self-aware they are. They are very self-aware people, and working in companies, this is a fascinating thing. They're really that CEO who is really, really a great CEO. They are a hard person in terms of their commitment to learn and to keep growing and to keep developing themselves. And there's really a distinction, even within the C-level, the executive team, that CEO has got a high level of commitment of just ambition, wanting to become his best or her best. And then as that kind of filters down to the rest of the company, there's people just want to show up for the check and do what it is that they want to do and that kind of stuff. And every once in a while, you'll see in those ranks somebody who's got genuine drive, genuine ambition, genuine want to make a difference kind of stuff. And here's the problem. And here's the big problem. Why does developing leadership in a business fail? There's two reasons, I think, fundamentally. Is number one, leaders don't lead. And secondly, leaders don't follow. Now, that's an interesting irony. Leaders don't lead and leaders don't follow. And what you have here is if you have these leaders that just do what I tell you to do, and then the people underneath them, they're fighting because they see things differently and they don't follow, as it were, you've got a real conundrum there. You've got a real battle going on. And that creates a horribly banal kind of environment, culture, business, because there's so much tied up in this fight here. But leaders who lead, that's the key thing. Leaders who lead know how to follow, and they also know how to develop other leaders.
Yeah.
And part of that development of other leaders is teaching that leader that they're teaching not only how to lead, but how to follow in smart, effective ways, so that they can bring out their best. So this learning how to develop your own leaders within your own company is a tricky thing. It's not an easy thing at all. It's really, really tough.
Well, here's the thing too about doing that. Are you ready for the success that your company may enjoy as you start to grow and become a CEO of your own organization, and it gets bigger and more successful, and you're getting into mergers and acquisitions or whatever down the road? There becomes a point for people in the C-level, CEOs, when they start, and we've seen this firsthand, when they started to bring on other organizations, or there's mergers and acquisitions or whatever involved, that honestly, that really separates, in a lot of words, separates the men from the boys, the women from the girls, because that's when you got to start developing, not only taking the culture and the leadership you've had in your organization and understanding another organization and bring that under the same umbrella. And honestly, those are the ones we know these people who have been successful at this. So we've had them on our show. We've talked to them. How many of those people have you coached, Maikel?
It's a very hard thing. It's a very, very difficult thing.
But it's just like
change the personality of someone.
Yeah.
You know, it takes incredible maturity.
It does. And that's really what starts to separate, you know, those individuals that might be great CEOs within their own organization, but when they have to expand, that's when it becomes a struggle. That's when it's, you know, you trying to cross that fence to bring, you know, all these other organizations and people together. And that's why it's important to start early. It's important to start as an entrepreneur. You know, eventually, if your dreams and goals are to grow and expand and become more than who you are, when you have those skills in your toolbox and all those tools ready to pull out when you need them, that's when you become confident, you become successful. The people you work with start having confidence in your abilities. They have confidence and they start to trust you. That's really when you start to see the success.
That's true. And it's not something that you come to suddenly. It is a developmental thing. It really is. You know, great leaders take time to develop, and they do the smart things. They learn how to do those smart things. So when the timing is right and those kind of changes are taking place, the best thing that they can have is not that they know exactly what's going to take place, because oftentimes you don't know what's going to go on.
No, yeah.
But it's the attitude, and it's a genuine attitude. It's not some sort of narcissistic, you know, fool yourself kind of attitude. Is I have the confidence in myself that I know I can handle whatever comes up. I can deal with it. I can learn how to get through this. I can make this thing happen. That's that kind of deep confidence that we're looking for in terms of helping those leaders get to in their lives, get to in their businesses. And that's really where they want to get to, you know, men, women out there who want to become leaders. And it's genuine. It's not fake. It's not pretend. It's not a pose. It's really real. It's a deep-seated confidence of, okay, throw all that you got at me because I can handle it.
Yeah. You know, and it's important, you know, when you're just starting out, and, you know, learn this myself. You've got to know when to put on your management hat and when to take that off and put on your leadership hat. Because, you know, there's a lot of things you have to manage starting a business, you know, C Corps, all that kind of stuff, everything that comes along with it, LLCs, whatever. There's a lot of things you have to manage. But when it comes to setting the vision for your organization in your future, that's when you got to take that management hat off and put on that leadership hat. That's when you got to dig deep. And if you know who you are inside and what your strengths and what your gaps are, you're that much further ahead.
As Kenny Rogers said, you got to know when to hold them and you got to know when to fold them.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, we'll wrap it up here. Rich, how do they get a hold of us if they want to talk to us? We want to have that conversation.
Well, you know, the best way to get a hold of us is executiveleadersactilec.com. And get on your laptops, get on your phones, get whatever. Go there, look us up, spend some time with us, schedule some time, reach out to us, you know, connect with us, and let's talk. You know, let's just have a conversation. Even if you're listening to us and you're anywhere in our audience right now, which, by the way, is growing. I got to tell you, Maikel, our audience is growing every single week. You know, you look at where, you know, more and more of our audience is. And I got to tell you, I thank you so much for everybody's support. But if you want to be on this podcast and you're over in Finland or Sweden or Europe, let us know, man. We'll
Germany, Romania.
Yeah, we'll schedule a time. Let's talk. I'm curious, you know, Middle East, anywhere. Yeah, you know, and that's the one thing that it's you know, the word spreading. Thank you very much for your support. And tell you what, we couldn't do it without you and couldn't keep going without you. So anything else you want to add, Maikel, before we
give us a call? I'll introduce you to my spaceship. Maybe I'll even let you take a ride in it.
That's right. You know, I've never seen that before. So that's gotta be something new. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for your time. And again, I gotta hold on. I gotta put this up there on the screen from our good friend Ronnie Shoemaker, who's also a phenomenal executive coach, leader, and with years and years of experience. You can't go wrong with this guy. And he's always there listening and supporting us. And, you know, I got to give him a big shout out. So thanks, Ronnie. And everybody else, have a great night. We'll see you again next time.
All right, folks. All the best.
Bye-bye.
Welcome. Thank you for joining us tonight on Mainline Executive Coaching ACT. ACT, we act. We take action as leaders. It's imperative. It's important. It's absolutely necessary to take action. The idea here really is this, is what is the correct action to take at any point in time? What's your ability as a leader to be agile, to adjust, to make the pivots that you need, to take in the new information, to assess that information correctly, and then be able to do something with it that's going to be the most benefit to everyone in your organization, so that there's greater adherence and working together, cooperation, collaboration in your organization. All that comes down to your ability as a leader to make proper judgments and then put together plans and implement those plans, getting buy-in from your group. That's what this is. Mainline Executive Coaching, Mainline Executive Coaching, Mainline Leadership. That's what we do here. We've got a great topic here for you folks. So thank you for joining us tonight. I'm here with my partner, Rich Barron. I'm Maikel Bailey. We're going to open this up to the idea of how would you want to put it? What is this topic exactly that we're talking about? I could say, but I want to hear how you'd frame it up.
How would I frame this up? How do you know that you have the talent to be in the position you're in? Do you truly have the skills to be that in the position you're in? Or is there something missing? I'm going to ask a question, Maikel. I'm going to open this up with a question, okay? Because we coach job seekers on how to answer those tough questions in interviews, right? So I'm going to ask a tough question. For all you leaders out there who are listening to me, I'm going to ask you a tough question. What is your 5-year talent strategy plan? Where do you see yourself in 5 years talent-wise? Do you have a plan? Do you know how to, and if you do, how are you going to get that plan on the road? How are you going to make that plan come to fruition? Are you going to write it down as a goal? And because if we write goals down, of course, that's how we start, right? Well, absolutely. But what's your plan? What would you think, Maikel? What would your plan be?
Well, you know, it's an important thing to know. First off, where are you? Yeah. Where are you? So you have a place to start. If you don't really know where you are, it's hard to figure out where it is you're going to go to, or how you will get to where it is that you want to go. So one of the things that we have is this MLEI, which is an excellent place of, let's start with some fundamentals of how you are wired, how you're naturally wired as a leader. Let's find out how you are in terms of the development of those things. You know, what are your natural strengths? What are the things that kind of lag behind that you're not so great? And most importantly, I think this is a huge one, is where do you derail? Where do you get yourself off track? If you don't have a clear understanding of those, not only just intellectually, because lots of times we can kind of say, yeah, I kind of do that. I don't know how much I do it, but maybe it's true, maybe it's not. But here's the real deal. If you've got somebody who's watching and working with you, kind of looking over your shoulder, having a regular visit with you each week, kind of a thing. That's what leadership development is, what we do here, so that they see you and they hear as you're working and what you're doing, they can say, well, you know, that's an example of such and such. That's a great example of a strength. That's a great example of an area that we need to work on. And then this kind of a question. So that didn't work out so good. Why do you think that happened that way? And that's that moment that it's an opportunity to create a crystal moment of, this is where you screw yourself up.
Absolutely.
And that's a huge moment, Rich. I'm telling you, it's a huge moment, because when you say, do you think that's where you're messing yourself up? Do you think this is a little bit of self-sabotage? Because none of us want to take a look at that and see it for what it is. We all want to cover it up. We want to, hide it away again. We want to close that closet.
Right.
We're not going down that road. We don't want to take a look at that. But that coach brings it up. hey, let's just take a look at that. How did that work out? And then starts inviting you to start unpacking that in such a way that you now have a chance not to get all jacked up emotionally about it, because there's a lot of pride in the leadership, a lot of ego, you know.
Oh,
That coach knows
absolutely.
how to kind of move around that ego in such a way, gives you a chance to look at it honestly, directly. Are they doing you a favor? At the time, it doesn't feel like it. It feels like, I grabbed a hold of part of your arm and they're just pinching it hard there, because it feels
Yeah.
like not maybe as tough as I thought I was. But
I got to add something to that right there, Michael. I got to add something because it just popped up.
Okay.
And there is a lot of ego. There's a lot of pride around the ability to get to these certain levels in your organization,
Sure.
obtain those certain jobs. Let me ask you this. How you plan on staying there? If you don't develop those talents, you don't develop those skills, and you make the choices to go down that wrong path, don't plan on being there very long. Leadership turnover in the United States is higher now than it has ever been. And one of the primary reasons for that is there's a lack of coaching, a lack of leadership development. When you get to a certain point, people feel, I've made it, check me out. How are you going to stay there? Truly. That's one thing you need. That is one of those pitfalls we've talked about. Unless you can stay there, you got this position everybody else wants. Quite frankly, there's a lot of people wanting where you're at. How are you going to truly stay?
You know somebody fairly close who's in one of those positions. We're not going to say his name, right?
No, we won't.
Those positions, and he's there and probably really shouldn't be there.
Oh, absolutely.
So here's what happens. The stress comes on, and there's stress. And so there's things that you can start doing. And you can do these things up to a point. And it's like, put your head in the sand, deflect, blame somebody else. You play, it's like, that's not my job. You do all sorts of little games to kind of move around. But once the upper level leadership starts looking, seriously looking, not politically looking, that's different. You probably got there because you got to politics. That's what got you.
Absolutely.
Okay? But if they start looking and they're going in there and they're doing some serious assessments, they're bringing in people to take a look at. Let's start looking at measuring. Let's look at your processes, all that kind of stuff. When you're really going that microscopic point of view, all of a sudden, there's no place to run to. There's no place to hide. It is out on the table. Here's what's going on. You didn't even know it was going on. How come you didn't know it was going on? And so now you're putting into, let's put it in a simple way. Somebody understand, because we talked about this. You're now going to be put in the penalty box.
Absolutely.
And that's why you have a coach who is asking you, tell me about this thing over here. Tell me about how come you keep avoiding this? How come this is something that you seem to do to sabotage yourself? What they're attempting to do is to save your skin from being put in the penalty box and having those penalties pile up again and again and again until you're out of the game. They can save your backside because they see things that you can't. They will say things that you don't want to hear. They will bring up things for you to start looking at and evaluating about, stuff that you may not even have really considered, and helping you start develop that plan of action of how you're going to bring out the best in you as a leader that you may not even have really thought that much about. But you thought, well, I got it handled. I'm okay.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly. It's part of, you've heard of a Pareto analysis, right? The 80-20 rule. Okay. 80% of your process creates is 20% of your problems, or vice versa. 20% of your process creates 80% of your problems. But it's understanding how to find that 20% that's important. That's one thing about the assessments that we utilize. It helps us focus in on the right traits, the traits that we really need to help you develop those talents and skills in. It's just like we talked about this in previous podcasts. You buy the book, you go to the seminar, you come home with a t-shirt, and you start reading about something that may or may not be the area you need to focus in on first. It may be throwing that dart at that, that problem with really not finding the root cause. That's what coaches do. That's what we do, that we have those tools and assessments to help us focus in on the right traits. the right things that we need to work on.
So let's talk about what some of those penalties look like.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely.
Some of those penalties look like, for instance, company doing really well over a number of years. They are making, they are not yet at that unicorn. There may be, maybe 300% of that or 400% of that. They're up in there $300-400 million a year, looking good, smelling good, and all this great stuff. But they had leaks. They have leaks. And all that has to happen is the perfect storm. Different things start piling up. And now all of a sudden, they may be out of the game altogether. And that happens in less than a year. How does that happen? Another company that you know of, they look like they're an international company. They're doing absolutely great. And all of a sudden, they're being hit with fines all over the place because they weren't watching.
You weren't watching.
Somebody's being hit with fines, and they can be thousands, tens of thousands, millions of dollars. Whose fault is that? Well, it's not the employee who's down on the floor. It's leadership's fault. It's the same thing. Again, if you got an organization and all of a sudden, you start realizing the leadership isn't doing a terrible job, what are you going to do about that? And they get rid of them, and now you've got new leadership in. They're left with this huge mess.
Yes, exactly.
There's a penalty that you pay today. There's a penalty that you pay then tomorrow. Your legacy may be that you got out by the skin of your teeth, but the people that were now put in your position to take care of it, they paid the penalty.
Yeah.
Now that's all very real. And so what we're saying is let's reverse that. Let's start moving out of that penalty box. Let's stop doing the things that put us in the penalty box. Let's start moving you in the direction of real benefits, of real growth, of real development as a leader. So what would we see? What would be some of the things that we would see that you would notice in an individual who is now getting that executive leadership development? What would you start seeing with that individual? What would you say that you start seeing?
Future performance. That's one thing we've talked about is relying too much on past performance, correct? Too much on past performance. But the one thing that people don't realize, it's you have to look at the potential. There's potential there.
Right.
What is your potential? Are you open? Are you willing? Do you have that vulnerability? Are you being courageous enough to open up and really take a deep look inside and not want to go to those penalties we've been talking about? It's like racking up a high interest credit card. You're never going to get away from that thing. You can pay the minimum payment every month, and it just keeps compounding. So it's the same thing. One of the things is the people fail to do is to stop, take a breath, realize that, yes, I do have time for this. That's one of the things we hear a lot. I don't have the time. I don't have the time. But you do. You have the time to do this. Because if you don't have the time now, I guarantee what's going to happen later on when all these penalties hit. then where's your time going to be?
Yeah, absolutely. It's surprising how much time we waste during the day, to be very honest with you.
Yeah.
That's one thing. If you're a leader out there, if you want to have and some of you leaders I know do this, and it's probably a small percentage that do this. 2 weeks, just track yourself every 15 minutes. Create some sort of time table. Just lay out, and every 50 minutes, fill it out. If you get real brave about it, what you can do is you have 2 columns. One column, this is my plan, and then this is what I actually did. You'll probably be very surprised.
Yeah.
Be very surprised about how that actually
and then determine how much of that was actually value added time.
Yes, agreed. What was the benefit of that? What you actually get done?
Yeah.
Yeah, you could definitely add a 3rd column to that. So the benefits of, number one, you're going to start finding yourself a little bit brighter, a little bit more aware about what's going on, what you're feeling, what you're noticing, your own perspectives, your own thoughts about what's actually happening, because you're probably doing a lot of that on automatic. And the more you become aware of that, I'll tell you, you become more aware of what's going on with other people. You start picking up more, you start seeing it. And that is where, I'll tell you, all these other examples we gave you, at some level, what happens, it really is. And it's such a, it's such a general statement kind of thing, but it really is at some level a failure of communication. And failure of communication, when you really take a look at it, is the one-on-one. You're really good with that. It's when you go down and you talk to the individual. How are things going? No, really, how are you doing? How are things going? And getting them to open up, getting them to start sharing, getting them to start, this is what's going on here. This is what I'm seeing. How can I help you? What can we do to help you do your job better? What kind of assistance do you need? That's where you get the eyes and ears of the people that are working for you, really paying attention and now connecting with you to help you do your job, because first you are there to help them do their job. That's a simple example of talent development, starting with you, the leader. How does that benefit your people? Because now because you're more in touch, you're more clued in about yourself and how you're working and what you're going to do to work at your best. You now clue into your other people. And now suddenly they're performing better.
I actually had this comment made to me the other day that as a coach, I probably just will cheer on everybody we work with, tell them all the bright, rosy things about them, and really avoid any of the negative conversation with them, because I don't want them to feel bad. I want them to see the positive in them. And that's, nothing could be further from the truth. I'm not your cheerleader. I'm not going to put on the short skirt and grab the pom-poms and cheer you on and make you feel really good about yourself. Eventually, yes. But the point about this is difficult. We're going to find these talents that you're hiding, and we're going to help you get them out of yourself, because we want to see you succeed, period. Now, if you're not willing to do this, if you're not open to do this, and you really like the penalty box, we're not going to waste our time. We're not going to waste your time. And really, that's what it comes down to it. If you're open, if you're vulnerable, if you have the courage to really face and look at this 5-year talent plan that you're going to write down, that you're going to think about. If you're open to that, and you don't want to go to these penalties that you were talking about, because they exist and they're coming if you're not ready for them, that's where we're at. We want to help you get to that next level. We have the tools to help find these traits that you need to strengthen. It's being data driven, thinking, and that's one of the things that we're data driven with these tools. We see these tools, we see the actual assessments of these individuals, and can help them paint a bigger picture. Let's do this. This is where you have the gaps. Let's fill those gaps in.
There's some people, Rich, I agree with you. There's some people that are really good at being able to sneak out of or get out of the penalty box and put other people in the penalty box.
Oh, absolutely.
Here's what I want to say. You can, if you're one of those people that's really good at just being able to redirect and refocus and blame that person's, scapegoat. Some people are really expert at it. You might even say in kind of a mentally ill way, they're really good at doing that kind of stuff. Eventually that's going to catch up with you. And what does that look like? I'll tell you what that looks like. That looks like alcoholism, drug abuse, serial affairs. It looks like cheating. It looks like, running over people, lying, just doing whatever's necessary. Eventually that comes in and it crashes in on you. And one of those ways that it may crash in on you, because you think you're slicker and smarter than everybody else and you can keep deflecting that, the answer may be you may be the guy that goes to jail. And there are plenty of really smart people who thought they were smarter than everybody else. And I think you break all the rules, right? Even break the law.
In trusted leadership positions.
In trusted leadership that end up in jail. Now, we don't want anybody to go there.
No.
What I'm simply saying is this: don't believe there are no penalties. The penalties are real and they can happen. And what we're saying is, don't play not to win, or rather, don't play not to lose. Learn how to play to win for you and for everybody on your team. Learn how to get those benefits going and get those benefits spread across your team and across the whole organization. That's what real leadership does, Rich. Yeah. Real leadership knows how to spread the benefits across the entire organization.
Exactly. You know, one thing is our focus on, and so many of these coaches that we know is about their goal to make people better, help them be better. You know, this point in our career, that's one thing to pass on our legacy. This is what I've learned. Let me help you get to that level. You know, great leaders recognize potential where others don't, but so do great talent agents. That's the trick, is realizing that potential and allowing those coaches to help develop that potential, allowing them in, allowing yourself to be driven harder than you think you can. That's the trick.
Or motivated to just take it up that next step. Take that next step. Okay, Rich, how do they do it? How do they get a hold of us to start that conversation?
Well, I'll tell you. Executive Leaders Act, ILEC.com. That's the first place to go. Go to the website, read about us, read about our program, reach out to us, leave a comment, whatever. Let's talk. Let's sit down and talk. And just talk about where you're at. If you want to talk about anything, we're willing to talk about that. But you got to take that.
I don't know about anything.
Well, maybe not anything. No, maybe not anything.
Maybe something.
But, yeah, yes. You know, let's talk. Yeah, let's just talk.
You can talk to anything, buddy.
Yeah. It's all good. It's all good. Just let's you bring up the topic, and we'll talk about it. But at any rate, we certainly appreciate your. Let me say that again. We certainly appreciate all your support. We do. We have global leaders and people who are listening to us on each podcast. Today, I'm shouting out to those folks in Prague, Czechoslovakia, who have been downloading our podcast and listening to us. Thank you very much. We love that. We love the fact that you are listening. So, and again, this is Rich and Maikel from Mainline Executive Coaching ACT. What does ACT stand for?
ACT.
ACT, right. And cultural transformation.
Do something. Please.
Do something. Yeah. Something. Yeah, do something. So have a great night, and we'll see you again next time.
All the best. Bye-bye.
With all of the issues facing organizations today, leadership development and cultural transformation are needed more than ever. Go to our website, Executive Leaders Act, ILEC.com. Book some time with us. Let's sit down and talk and get you on the path to success. This podcast was brought to you by Intelligent Leadership Executive Coaching, ILEC, the world's foremost authority on leadership development and cultural transformation. Once again, for Mainline Executive Coaching, ACT, this is Rich Barron and Maikel Bailey. Thank you for joining us, and take care.